Let's bring out our guy, Tom Murphy, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, I want to start out with the AP Top 25. I know it'll come out probably at some point after the show this morning. Where did you rank Arkansas in the AP Top 25?
Well, if I had a vote, probably somewhere in the low teens.
I switched it. I'm sorry, Tom. Bob's in basketball. I apologize about that.
Where did Bob vote? Where did Bob put them?
Where would you? Let me ask you this: where would you put them in the top 25 this week?
Yeah, I say low teens, and that's probably about where Bob has them. Bob does not overreact, nor do I on the football poll. But they've this winning streak and a very tight loss to Oklahoma State thrown in there during the streak has. The Razorbacks, I mean, they're on the move. I agree with what Tommy was saying. You know, if you lose this week, you probably drop one line, but I think they're up in that 4-5 spot if the tournament were to be held right now. So, not that the AP poll means anything in terms of, you know, where you're going to be seated, but it's a nice little feather in your cap for a team that's really gotten better as the season has gone on.
And you brought up Oklahoma State. For those who didn't get a chance to watch them this weekend, they won a great basketball game against the Oklahoma Sooners, who lost 2 games this past week. So, Tom, that Oklahoma State, I know Arkansas fans would love to say that they have now 10 straight wins instead of having to say 9 straight conference wins. But that Oklahoma State loss does not look bad, especially the way that Mike Boynton's squad, especially Cade Cunningham, has been playing as of late.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. If they could have kept that guy Boone down, I think that was his last name, that kind of killed him on the board. They would have won that game on the road as well. But I'll tell you what, this South Carolina game, I do a weekly SEC basketball report, and there's not one team more than South Carolina that you cannot figure out what they're going to do on a game-to-game basis. They've won at Florida this year, y'all. And then they blew Georgia out the other day. So, and then they've had some just total head-scratcher losses. Their veteran roster is got as much experience as anybody in the conference with Cousinard and Brian and those guys. And I really, if they're on, they're going to be hard to beat at Colonial Life.
Tom, and I know it's hard to get into the mind of the committee, but if you were on the committee, how much value would you put into the fact that Arkansas has avenged all of their SEC losses with the exception of Tennessee? And, of course, they won't get a chance, at least in the regular season, perhaps in the tournament, against Oklahoma State. But of the 5 losses, you've balanced it out or avenged 3 of those. Is there any value in putting that on the resume with the committee when they're looking at Arkansas, and maybe they get a little extra credit, bumped up a seed line based on you came back and beat Bama, Missouri, and LSU now this weekend?
Well, obviously the committee will evaluate every win and every loss, and because Alabama is a nice quadrant 1 win, that'll be measurable for them. And then, you know, LSU, I talk about them a lot. Good LSU, bad LSU. The first half, they were good LSU, and Will Wade talked about it. They were on point. They were executing. You know, he said they should have been up 9 or 10 points at halftime, but they weren't. And that's a credit to Arkansas that was shooting so poorly in that game and kept it so close. And then, of course, they got blown away in the second half, and that was bad LSU. There were some early in the shot clock shots taken by Smart and Watford and some other guys, and they didn't rebound near as well. In the first half, it looked to me like they were the quicker team getting to 50-50 rebounds. And in the second half, that was Arkansas. And it's still a good win for the Razorbacks. It was a revenge win, and as they said, that was the end of their revenge tour, and they capped it with a win. And when you win the way Arkansas has been doing, going down the stretch, that's another it's another point where the committee can put you on a good seed line for you. And I don't see how Arkansas falls past the middle part, an 8 at this point.
All right, I know there's South Carolina in the middle of the week, but are you making alternate plans? Do you have a plan B for Saturday? How much are you expecting Arkansas to actually play Texas A&M?
Well, I have not been keeping up with A&M's COVID on a game-to-game basis, but I cannot imagine the SEC rescheduling this game without getting some type of reassurance that A&M was heading in the right direction. A&M lost a bunch of games. I think they lost 2 to Vanderbilt as well as 2 to Arkansas, and making them travel, a 50-50 deal. A&M lost both to Arkansas, the home game and the road game. Making them travel makes sense. If you're Arkansas, do you want to go down there in the middle of that?
Nope.
So I feel pretty good that they'll play the game. And now if A&M can't do it, I don't see how they can reschedule anybody unless there's another SEC postponement and they can get that other team.
Talking with Tom Murphy here on the Morning Rush. Tom, we were kind of kicking that game around a little bit earlier. That would put Arkansas, so they play on Saturday against the Aggies. They wouldn't play till Friday, so that's what, a 6-day layoff? And then if they didn't play that game, then that means they would not play since Tuesday, which is, what, 10? 10 days?
Too long.
Wow.
Is that too long for this Arkansas basketball team if they didn't play the Aggies heading into a potential matchup against the Missouri Tigers of the Georgia Bulldogs next Friday in Nashville?
Well, given where they are in the season, it might be a little too long, but I don't see how, let's just say you get off to a somewhat slow start. I think they would recover from that. If they're, quote, a little rusty, they would recover from that in the game and be okay. Also, this time of year, you get a little bit banged up. And so I also think if they had a long rest like that the good would probably outweigh the bad. So either way, they will be mentally set for whatever the schedule says and whatever the travel looks like and whether they play a game or they don't. This coaching staff will have this team mentally prepared for whatever challenges ahead of it.
Now, I want to say you're the one that's been keeping this statistic. They're now 12-0 when they've had 4 more days of rest before. Is that right?
Yeah, thanks, Ty. I knew you were going to bring that up.
Okay.
Scotty Bordelon with Hogs is also kind of the spearhead of that, starting that statistic. And I believe it is 12-0. And I asked Eric Wilson about that after the last one, and he kind of played it off. But the truth is that coaching staff can just scheme you up. They can find your weaknesses. They attack it. They can give you things that you haven't quite seen yet, and can exploit them. And they find ways to motivate this team. So I think it's wholly appropriate that this coaching staff and this team is the one that's 12-0 when you have 4 more days.
All right, before you go, a weather-shortened series sweep yesterday with probably the most dominant win of the series, but Arkansas takes 4 over Southeast Missouri State, gets to 7-0 with the baseball team. Just any thoughts after what you saw this weekend from Arkansas playing Southeast Missouri State?
Yeah, I think I told you guys earlier I'm still a little worried about hitting in some spots, and that's still the case. But what I like about them is they showed the backbone, because they look down and out. I mean, as Dave Van Horn said yesterday, in that Thursday game, SEMO had them. They were up 5-2, and Dylan Dodd had really done a great job keeping them down. But they managed to find their way back in the 9th inning and win the game. And so they're a team that has now done that. They've come back, I believe, in 4 of the 7 wins that they've come back from deficits, and some of them very late. So they've got that going for them. They still have some things to sort out at starting pitcher, and I could go on and on about this. And they have 2 more weekends to get that settled before they start SEC play. But between left field, third base, DH, they've got to find guys who can produce. And as long as Matt Goodhart is healthy, he's had a stomach issue. I think they're fine. But getting Robert Moore going more in the leadoff spot and a few other issues, but otherwise their pitching is going to be able to really help them. While we were chatting, the D1 baseball top 25 rankings have come out. You want to take a guess at who the new number 1 team in the country is, Tom? Yeah, I've already seen it out there. D1 and Baseball America, Razorbacks, number 1. So they're going to have the bullseye on their back from everybody they face.
All right, so good stuff. The number 1 ranked Arkansas baseball team, 7-0 on the year.
Yep. Murray State coming in, and then I think they got a little midweek in La Tech, and then, boom, conference play starts.
Tom, we'll talk more Arkansas baseball, Arkansas basketball on Thursday, buddy, and hopefully the Texas A&M game will go according to plan on Saturday, but wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah, Ty, I get a bad feeling hearing from you about that, man, but I think it's going to happen. Thank y'all.
All right, see you, buddy.